Get ready to do life and business on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. You either make excuses or you choose to level up. What amazing guests living the big ticket life. Woo! Woo! Brandon Brittingham.
Appreciate you having me here today, man.
It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today.
Jeff and I are like friends. We're real friends.
We are so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it.
It all comes down to your why. Your business, why are you doing it? How is it going to change the world and what's it going to do for your family?
I want you to celebrate your success.
Talk about the struggle, but I promise you, the story is in your struggle.
They'll never be able to say that about me because people only see me working hard in anything that I'm doing whenever they see me.
Focused on your success and the success of those around you.
But being that constant in your community, good or bad, whether things are great in the community, bad in the community, be steady.
Unapologetically do business and life on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. What amazing guests living the big ticket life. And we discuss how they do it and the big ticket methods they use. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms.
In and of itself, the only limitations that we really have on ourselves is the ones that we allow to be put on ourselves. And most people don't look at it in that perspective.
There's nothing wrong with being humble, but there's also nothing wrong with stepping into your superpower and letting people know who you are.
Get ready to do life and business on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. All right, welcome to another great episode of The Big Ticket Life. I've got Ky Logue with me today. I got to meet Ky through Apex. Apex, a wonderful, amazing peer-to-peer mastermind group, and really connected with him through the topic of RVing, although that won't be the whole context of our show. But Ky's looking to kind of live that RV on the road lifestyle a little bit, add that into the hobbies and fun that he and his family have. Ky, welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you here.
Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for having me on, man. I'm real excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's dig right in. Like, I love talking about camping. I think it's one of my big goals is to, as I use the various things that I do as stepping stones and paths in my journey, is one of the big goals is to, for my family, for my legacy, and really to help others, is to have an amazing campground, or maybe series of campgrounds that kind of bring a Disney-like experience to it, because that's my whole thing, is the customer experience. That's what the people I work with, what gets me excited is creating an amazing experience. So for me, like, camping is, you talk to anybody, they always light up about family camping memories, right? Maybe it was just in a tent. Maybe it was a little pop-up. Maybe they rented a cabin. There was a family cabin. So what is it about the RV lifestyle, the camping idea? What is it that you like about all that?
So I've actually never gone RVing. Haven't done it yet. Actually came across a YouTube video and saw this guy who just kind of traveling, woke up on the beach, and he had a little thing, made himself coffee, had his dog with him, and he just, starting the day, sunrise was coming up, and just looked like, he didn't have a care in the world and super relaxed. I'm like, this guy knows something I don't, and I started to kind of go down the YouTube rabbit hole, and really just tried to go and started watching all these videos, and I knew nothing about RVs besides what I watched on YouTube, and now I've had a few conversations with different people in the network and outside the network. But it just sounds awesome. Everyone I talk to, they just love it. They get super passionate about it. There's people that are on my Dream 25 list that have reached out to me. They're super into RVing that I had no idea. And they're like, hey, you have to do this. It's great. But the main reason we love to hike, we love to go out on adventures, me and my wife. And her goal has always been to try to see as many national parks as we can. And
very cool.
Yeah, we're sitting down doing the math. I'm like, hey, we pretty much have to, there's a lot of national parks. So we got to, really be on the road a lot if we want to hit some of these.
Yeah. Realism with goal setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's 77. I don't know how many national parks there are. Do you know the number?
I don't know. It's a lot. There's more than I thought.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, there definitely is. I mean, even in middle of nowhere, West Virginia, there's national parks, which is pretty much all there is in that stretch of the nation. But no, it's very cool. There's a great podcast. Actually, Chris, my amazing producer at castahead.net, he is knows of or is connected to the Rootless Living podcast. So for you, that might be one you subscribe to, but it's all about people who live full time and do the RV life. That's the name, Rootless Living. I forget the gentleman's name that just went right off the top of my head, the host and owner of that, but he publishes a magazine and it's a really great podcast. You might check that out. And for anybody else, you might check it out too. Yeah, I love the freedom it provides, right? I mean, that's like the literal definition of life and business on your terms, being able to wake up in a destination, grab your coffee at the beach, grab your coffee at the foot of Yellowstone. If you're in West Virginia, the Monongahela National Park, which is like nothing but just big, tall trees, dense forestation. Yeah, a lot of cool things that you can do and opportunities that it opens you up. And I think one of those benefits is I think there's a lot to be said getting around different types of people, right?
Mm.
You see benefit in that?
Yeah,
Being
100%. Yeah, I think just always looking to meet new people, and I feel like, like I said, we haven't done it yet, but I definitely imagine you can probably meet a lot of cool people on the road. And I love going to networking events and mastermind events and just hearing different people's stories. And I feel like that's probably gonna be a great opportunity to do that for sure.
Yeah, I would assume Jeff and Kirsten Smith in the Apex group.
So my wife does. She's in Apex as well, and I met Kirsten once or twice. But I know her and my wife talk.
Yeah, it's always fun to see their family pack up in the RV. They have one. Jeff's into real estate as well, just as you are. And it's always fun to see their family pack up in the RV. They've got a Class C, 4 kids. So that's if you know anything about Class C RVs, anybody listening, watching, Class C, you got the bunk typically over where you drive it. You got typically a bedroom in the rear. And then you got sofas and things that pull out in the middle. Maybe if you got a big one, you might have bunks in the middle on one side. It's certainly for a family that loves each other. It's for people who are close, because if you got more than you and your spouse in there, it's some tight living for sure.
Now, do you do the Class C type thing, or do you do like the pull behind?
Let's kind of dig in, and then we'll get into all you do. And this is definitely you help people and have a podcast about helping business owners overcome adversity. So my RV and camping journey as of recent was definitely adversity. We had a Class C, and we bought it used. I wanted to see if our family was really truly into it. They thought we were. All that good stuff. So I bought one used, kind of fixer upper, took it apart in my front yard, fixed it up, went on our first trip, great trip, came back, neighbor drives into the back of it and totals it. Totals his Jeep Grand Cherokee, totals the back of the camper.
Wow.
Long story short, I got a nice insurance check for it, was able to keep the title and sell it. And that went towards our new camp trailer that we have now. We did 2 years of towing that around. That was fun, but that way of camping is a lot of work, especially if you're able to get away for 3-4 days at a shot. And because you're setting up, you're tearing down. There's a lot of driving. We found as a family, we just really kind of like to have a spot where you can get away. So we have it at a permanent site now, but we love getting up there. And I actually do, for my lifestyle, in my business, I'll do a lot of work throughout the spring and summer up there through the week. I'll go up and spend a night, work the next day, and then come home. So yeah, there's all different ways to do it. But it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk to a lot of business owners. Mm-hmm. Any common themes, any common threads through your podcast? And what's the name of your podcast again?
So it's One Day at a Time, or the ODAAT Podcast. Again, it's all kind of mindset, overcoming adversity, different entrepreneurs sharing their stories, and it's kind of how they broke through, and just kind of sharing the different struggles. But yeah, it's a great question. So for common themes, I'd say one, that probably comes up nearly almost every episode, is that, really just who you're hanging out with, who you're surrounding yourself with. You're the average of the 5 people you're around. And that sounds kind of corny or woo woo, but it's really so true. Because if you're hanging out with losers that are drinking all the time, or, just partying all the time, and, you're probably going to end up doing the same thing. But if you're hanging around people that are committed to, bettering themselves and winning and, personal development and working out, you're probably going to start doing that. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest themes.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I share with friends and family who are not entrepreneurs, who may, obviously they know me, but they might know other business owners that I don't personally know. I share with them often, like, man, what you don't realize is it's lonely at the top. It's lonely up here. And that's not meant to say from a position of arrogance that I'm above you. It's just a figurative way to say, I live a different life.
Right.
And I think a lot of folks they don't really get that. They don't have that perspective. But you are spot on. You are the average of the people you hang around. So what do you recommend for people who are feeling lonely at the top? How do they solve that?
Yeah, I think really just finding a mastermind or network, like for me is Apex. But yeah, really, like you said, it's just, it's hard not having people to talk to that don't really understand entrepreneurship, or, you can't talk to about kind of the problems you're going through. I mean, because not like, if you talk to someone that works a 9 to 5, it's kind of hard for them to relate or, really give advice or even listen, about, the struggles that go with business ownership or entrepreneurship. And they just really just can't imagine. I feel like in their mind, they're probably thinking it must be nice, or, who knows, even if they want to relate, it's probably just hard just because it's just a different world. But yeah, I think just finding the right mastermind, I'd recommend Apex. There's a lot of other great ones out there too, but yeah, really just trying to find your tribe or, your people that you can connect with and kind of start building those relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Let's dig into, the concept of connecting with that tribe, if you will. And then what do you do when you're in, right? Like, so you join Apex as an example, and I'll talk about Apex all the time because I think it's a great group, great peer-to-peer mastermind and network. Unlike any other that I've been a part of, I think the culture is what makes it so special.
Yes.
There's a connectivity that's just pretty much unreal for anything else that I've been a part of. And I've been a part of a lot. So you get in, right? So, all right. So somebody's like, all right, Ky and Jeff, I get it. And, they go check out your podcast one a day at a time, and they listen. And you should subscribe to it, One Day at a Time podcast. If they type in ODAAT, does it come up?
Or that's what it is. ODAAT. Yeah, it's ODAAT.
ODAAT. Okay. I like that acronym, by the way.
Thank you.
I like that. It's kind of like Who Dat for the Saints.
Right. A lot of people say that.
ODAAT. Yeah, I like that. Are you a Saints fan?
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm from New England.
All right. Well, we'll just stop the football conversation there. No, just kidding. So subscribe to ODAAT Podcast, but you take the advice that Ky's given you and that we've been talking about today. You get into a group, but now it's like, all right, well, now it's this whole new place. It's this whole new uncomfortable place. Yeah, people are predisposed. They kind of have the same problems as me, but I don't even know how to behave here. What do you recommend that people do?
So really the biggest thing is just kind of go in there, one, with an open mindset, but two, just, focus on giving value, try to provide value. Don't go in there with a taker mindset and worry about how am I going to get sales or how is this going to improve my business. But, just be a person, just have conversations with people, talk to them, they're looking for the same thing as you. They're looking for community. They're looking for people to connect with and talk with. But just go there. Don't try to force it, and just be yourself, and, just be willing to, in any way you can give value, try to give value. Because, I 100% believe givers gain.
Yeah. Yeah. That philosophy of giving to, givers gain, really rings true in those kinds of networks. And I think the real test will be if you'll know you're in the right one when people respect your time. So let's say you book a call with somebody, I'd recommend you have a calendar link so you're not 27 messages back and forth. Does Wednesday at 1 work? Oh no, it doesn't work. Let's do Thursday at 2. Well, that doesn't work for me. Just get a calendar link and share that out and let people come on as it works for you. But that giving philosophy and giving value. Let's go one more pass at that. I think a lot of folks at times can feel like they don't have anything to give, right?
100%.
Like for me, one of my businesses is retail mattress store, right? And I think I've had self-doubt of, well, I'm a mattress guy. What the hell do people want from me there? But then I realized, no, you're definitely way more than that. I do the show. I help other business owners, with their issues on growth and vision, and kind of growing into their experience that they can give. So that's the value I offer. How do you recommend people kind of get over that fear of the value they can bring, even if they're in like what they might think is a boring job, or boring career, like insurance?
Yeah, I think that's a great one, because I know a lot of people do struggle with that. So I think one, business-wise, there definitely is ways you can give and gain. Maybe there's tools or systems that you use that are different. So for example, my wife kind of struggles with that too. And we were at Apex, one of the Apex events, and she was talking, I think it was with Josh Thomas. And then she kind of struggled, I don't know what I have to give. And, it's, because I'm kind of the visionary of our business. But basically, she was kind of going over Airtable, and she kind of went into this is how I do this, because she also has a social media management business, and she kind of gave him a whole breakdown. And he told her after, he said, "Hey man, that made this whole trip worth it." And it was just kind of mind blowing. So you never know, what you can help someone with, whether it's a tool or just something small that could really help someone's business or what they're struggling with. And if you don't ask, what they need help with, you're not going to be able to help them. But also a big thing, we talk about in Apex, and Ryan Seaman talks about just, the 4 pillars. And, it's not just about business, but maybe you can help someone, with their health or relationships, or with their group. Maybe you can connect them. So, there's always ways to, to give value, even if, you feel like, you can't right away with business, or if you're just starting out in business.
Yeah. 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 I mean, one of the things that I did as of recent with the group is I'm speaking at a big event this weekend, a virtual event, but it's a big virtual event, which is kind of an oxymoron anymore. But there are a lot of people going and attending, and the structure of it is very cool. The offer that will be made, the way the speakers, what the speakers are expected to contribute, and then the load they're expected to carry for the offer to be made. It's very unique. And I decided that I would share out that structure within our group, the executives group, because a lot of those folks run their events, their own virtual events. And it's just a different look. And so, yeah, offering those tools, those tips, those tactics are really great. I'll give you one right now that I think could possibly work for you. So we'll start talking about how you got into real estate and what We Buy Sad Houses is all about. But like, this is the way, even if you're just the boring insurance person, right? Like, this is how you give value. I came across a company called Blip Billboards. It's now the second time in 2 weeks I've talked about it on the show. But this is like arbitrage for billboards.
Really?
And yeah, so Blip goes and they as best I can understand it, and I don't really care how they pay for it, but they contract with your digital billboard companies for their empty space. And then they resell that empty space to me. So I upload my ad into their portal. I pick out the boards I want. And when that space is available, the ad gets shown. So in San Antonio, and I notice you got We Buy Sad Houses in a bunch of different towns. So we'll talk about how you got that done and what that's all about. But like, I could see you just upload a handful of ads for We Buy Sad Houses, throw it in. I've had my board shown for, we have an alternative in the mattress business for Sleep Number. It's actually the precursor to Sleep Number, the original number bed. And I just put some artwork up. I've had that board showing 21. This is the last time I checked earlier this week, 2,100 times on 5 boards. So big concentration of showing in a small area where people are going to my store and to the Sleep Number store, by the way. So they're driving past my board. Going to my competition, which I kind of think is cool. $63 is what I've spent.
It's called Blip, BLIP Billboards.
Yep, Blip Billboards.
I'm definitely gonna check that out.
So right there, I mean, like when Ky says, look to give value. If you've got a really cool app, you got something that's a hack in your day that improves your day, share it out, because likely, I mean, the world's a big place. There's tons of solutions out there. If you got one or two that are making your life better, that's immediately how you can start connecting in these kinds of groups. So let's say you take that little drop of value with blip billboards and you put "We Buy Sad Houses" all across San Antonio on billboards. Tell us about how you got to the day where we're here right now and you own "We Buy Sad Houses." Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so I've been on the entrepreneurial journey for a little bit, so about 6-7 years. Kind of started different things. I've always struggled with shiny object syndrome, but learned a lot of lessons along the way, and had some businesses that did well. Some I was able to sell one of them, and others that just straight out failed. But I always wanted to get into real estate. It's kind of always in the back of my mind. The first wealthy person I ever met made money through real estate, and like me, he told me he barely graduated high school. So it kind of always intrigued me and kind of left that little thought in my head. I always wanted to get in there, but I always thought, you had to have perfect credit. I thought you had to have a bunch of money in the bank, and thought you had to know how to fix and repair houses and deal with tenants and termites and toilets and all the things, everyone says to scare you away from real estate. But I always, like I said, I was interested in it. So I'd read a lot of books. I'd, listen to podcasts, and, eventually I came across something called wholesaling. And it was a little book. It was a small chapter about it. And it was just really small. I didn't really get into it. But I'm like, oh, what is this? So I decided to dive into it. And I found out I could, basically invest in real estate without, having the money, the credit, the experience, or any of the other things I thought I needed. Basically all I had to do was sales and marketing, which I've done my whole life. So, I found out about that, and I was all in.
Yeah, very, very good. Very good story. I hear a lot of people, that's how they start in real estate, wholesaling. A lot of folks start in that path. There's a lot of different ways you can get into that, and then you can grow from that. Now you've got, is it franchise locations in other places, or you're just operating offices?
Yeah, so we just do marketing in all those places. So I'm just basically wholesaling. You're getting a property under contract, and then you're selling that contract to another investor. So I have connections. I have a network of different investors in different markets that I'm in. So I'll do marketing in those areas, and then I'll sell them the contract. So basically, a lot of the hot markets I'm focused on. And then we also do fix and flips, and we have one house we're going to turn into a rental here in San Antonio as well.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask, are you just going to stay in that wholesaling space, or if you're going to do the fix and flip, or subject to, lease to own? I mean, there's so many different ways to affect a real estate contract. I got into this area of real estate about 10 years ago, and ended up exiting. Made money, did okay, but had a really bad taste in my mouth because I ended up in litigation, and a judge didn't understand real estate at all. Actually, his only frame of reference was Joe Realtor's sign in the front yard. Yeah, and when we put about 900, I think it was 937 ways in a real estate contract can be affected. It was taken as an insult to his intelligence, and I lost the case. It was, there's a lot to it, but that was the broad strokes. So, that was a $60,000 lesson for me. Wow. So not the biggest failure I've had, but a significant one.
Yeah.
So you said you had some, shiny object syndrome, some businesses that failed, some businesses that were successful. Obviously, We Buy Sad Houses is one of those. What were some of those failures, and why?
So when basically I've been in sales forever, got burnt out from sales, worked at an insurance company, hated it, missed sales, didn't get a promotion I wanted, was an awful employee, got fired, rightfully so. And but super frustrated at the time, said, hey, I'm never going to work for someone else again. So I had no idea how I was going to do that. Everyone thought I was crazy. And, I didn't know about YouTube at the time. Wasn't following any gurus. I wasn't even on social media. So I had no idea how to start, working for myself. So yeah, definitely learned a lot of lessons, got kicked in the face a bunch of times. But so we sold stuff on Amazon, did okay with that. We'd go like yard sales and flip stuff and just to make a small amount of money. So I got all that money, tried to reinvest it into, we were up in New Hampshire at the time. So we decided to reinvest all that money into like snow removal equipment. So we got like a snow blower and a bunch of stuff like that. And then one of the only winters I can remember, it didn't snow. So, invested all our money into that. So I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, how much further do you have to go for snow than New Hampshire? I guess Maine.
Right. Yeah.
At least here in the States, that is.
Mhm. So that didn't work. So sold all that. I did what's it called? Just like yard work and leaf cleanup, small things like that. I didn't really like doing that much. It's just another thing, just the only business I kind of knew of. I'm like, oh, I see these all the time. But yeah, just I had a company helping people get out of timeshares, and then that one, we did well with that one. That's when I sold, but there was, I didn't know about core values at the time. I was like 23, 24 at the time, so I had an awful culture. Didn't know about core values. Just really, I had an awful, I had a person that was my friend. That the business relationship was awful. We didn't have our contracts there. Found out he was taking money and just using it, like a lot of money, and just like using it for all his personal stuff. And but yeah, just it's a great lesson for sure. But and then from there, just marketing agency, left that one, sold that one, started marketing agency, which I liked, but I didn't really like. And I did well. We were doing like paid ads and stuff for car dealers. But that was cool, but it was but yeah, this wasn't really what I wanted to do. So, but yeah, I'm grateful for kind of all those like different businesses and different lessons I learned, because I don't think I'd ever be where I'm at today if I didn't go through those, or I wouldn't have know some of the things I know now if I didn't go through all that.
Yeah. I think that's a big difference, in our generation, our general age groups, is we have tried and have done a lot of different things. Whereas our parents and grandparents, they were brought up to have a career, to have a path, and they kind of stayed in that lane. Generalization, I'm sure there were there's many others that did try many different things, but I think you're seeing people be committed more, and we'll talk about core values next. Like their value is they want freedom. They want to experience life. Doesn't mean they don't want to work. It's just they want a great balance around that. And if they can deliver immense value while achieving that freedom, that's the lane they want to be in. So let's talk about like where you see core values being something that can really move the needle in business.
Yeah, and I think it's a game changer. Yeah, I feel like in life and in business, I feel like it's really just an easy reference point to know, like, if you align with someone real quickly. Because before I had core values, there'd be like a thought in the back of my head, like, there's something I don't like about this person, or there's something, I don't know why they seem cool, but there's something I don't like about them. I just can't put my finger on it. But once I identified my core values and really start living by them, but now instantly I can be like, oh, they don't have integrity. They don't do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it. Or they don't take ownership. They're playing the victim and blaming everyone else. And, it just really makes it a lot easier. And especially when you get into business relationships, and especially when you're hiring people, and you're building your culture with the people you work with, it makes it so much easier and so much more efficient. And just to know, just like when, you don't know what you don't know. So when you do know your core values, it makes everything so much easier, and just really a game changer.
Yeah. 100%. One of the things in our business is we want to change the way, our mission is to change the way people feel about mattress stores. And we have a bunch of values that uphold that. But we can immediately test one another within the business, whether that's our delivery team, our sales team, operations, ownership. If something feels wonky, we can immediately ask ourselves, is this changing the way people feel about this experience? Or are we just phoning it in the moment? And I think that changed the way you feel about real estate, insurance, buying a car. To me, that's one of those broad statements, but can also be very focused, because you can ask yourself that question: am I changing the way this person in front of me feels about this experience with me?
That's
Any
good.
expanded thoughts on that?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
I said, do you have any thoughts to add to that about changing the way people feel about that experience?
Yeah, no, I think, to keep driving the customer experience is everything. We're always looking for to try to get a win-win scenario. So we deal with a lot of distressed homeowners. So we deal with people, either the house is distressed, they're needs a lot of work, or usually it's personal though. Usually it's they have something personal going on in their life, whether it's financial, whether it's family. Maybe they're in danger of losing the house. So it's really a lot of emotionally charged times and stressful times, because a house is, a lot of emotions go into a house. You live there. There's it's usually most people's main goal in life is getting a house.
Right.
So when they're in danger of losing that, it's definitely emotionally charged time. So yeah, we're really trying to focus on, what's the best case scenario for them, not what's going to put the biggest check in our pocket. Obviously we're going to make money, we're a business, but we're going to make sure, what's the best case scenario for them? What do they need next? What are they worried about? Do they have their next place lined up? Do they need help moving out of the house? What can we do to make sure that, it's as easy and painless as possible for them? Because usually they're already going through a hard enough time as it is.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to ask, maybe you can think of one of those really great success stories where somebody had that really sad situation and you help them move forward from it. But I think we should take a step back, because I think a lot of folks listening, watching, by the way, we record this show as a video. This episode you're watching was not live streamed, but it was recorded. Normally we live stream, but you're still able to take it in on video. So you should always watch, because you do get a lot from the body language, facial expression. When we hear things, we take it in better when we see it. But you can take this in audio and video. But let's share with people watching and listening that there's many ways to buy real estate, which I already said, hundreds of ways. And people get really attached. Like, I think for me, the vision of a house is, like you said, it's the dream. It's the number one goal. People get really attached to it. So it becomes this big, like, monolithic thing that you have to go through all these permeations, all these steps to sell and to buy. When in fact, it's not quite that, right? It actually can be very opposite of that. And that's really what you do. So explain to people, like, if you own a home and it's distressed, like, what do you mean by distressed, and how do you come in and get that contract, and then what do you do with it?
Yeah, so typically distressed would be, again, the house either needs a lot of work, like needs repairs, or it could be, some of the reasons we find that's like code violations or things like that, or it could be, you inherit it and it's vacant and no one's been there in a long time. Or you had tenants for a while, you're trying to use it as a rental property, and they trashed the place and they left, and now it's just a huge headache. So that's usually the reasons the property itself would be distressed. But if it's distressed, for the owner, usually it'd be, things like foreclosure, financial issues. It'd be things like divorce. It'd be things like, really health issues, or, really sometimes people just, something happens quickly, they get a new job and they just need to sell immediately. They need to move across country and they don't have time to put it on the market. So what we're able to do, so we're doing marketing. So we do, one of the things that works really well for me right now is I do a lot of text and voicemail automations. So basically I'll pull different lists from websites or from the county records, and then I upload them to my CRM. And then it automatically does this automation where one day it'll send a text, and then right after that, a voicemail recording. And then a day later, it'll do the same thing. And then this will do a voice and text message and voicemail. And then we'll wait. And then like 3 more days. So it's like all over a week. And we'll do one last one. And then we have like follow-up sequences down the road. But that's one of the big reasons. Then paid ads and just, organic stuff. People find us online. But so we find those people, and then we're really just trying to find whatever the best solution is for them. Maybe they're behind and they need help getting caught up. There's situations where we can do sub 2 or owner financing if they want more money. So it's really just trying to find what they want. Is it like a need they're trying to fulfill? Are they just trying to get the most money for their house? Or, they're trying to do it quickly. And then we kind of tailor, our different solutions for whatever it is that they want. And it's going to help them best achieve what they're looking for.
Yeah. Do you find it, maybe you didn't know this when you got into the real estate game? I think a lot of folks listening and watching, this would be news to them. But was it surprising to you to learn how many properties are actually owned outright versus having a mortgage through a bank?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's definitely a way bigger number than you think. And just overwhelming how many houses there are in general and how many people have houses. And yeah, it's definitely not something you don't normally think about until you actually get into it and start looking at the data. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, to do what you do in the wholesale side of things, and obviously you shared you do more than just wholesaling homes, but yeah, there are a lot of ways to get into the real estate game, and it isn't again, it's not this big complicated thing. It appears as it is, because I think a lot of folks look at it through their lens. right? Maybe they got a really nice house. They put a big down payment on, but they still have a mortgage. It was a whole process to buy it. You looked at 17 homes. You had the home inspection. The first one fell through. Your dream home came back on the market. It took 7 months. You lived in it for 12 years. Then you had to touch it up to sell it. And that's not your life at all, is it?
Right. Yeah, completely different. Yeah, it's I had the same like your beliefs and mindset too, because we bought a house right before we started, so we went through the whole trying to find something off the MLS, and it was a huge headache, especially because the market was so hot at the time. We just bought our first primary home, and I've only been doing real estate for about 2 years now. But it's completely different. You're going through, having to deal with an agent, having to look at a house, having not knowing if you have a good agent or not, and putting offers in and not getting the offers accepted and not knowing why, and just all the different headaches. But that's definitely completely different, because then you have to worry about the banks and the mortgages, and then so a lot of moving steps and moving pieces and doing traditional real estate and buying on the MLS. But yeah, once you get into it, so what I do is I focus on off market properties, so properties that aren't listed. And it's a lot easier. You cut out a lot of the in between people or the middlemen,
Right.
So you don't have to worry about the realtors. You can just talk directly to the homeowner, and then you can structure it, so you don't have to put money down. You can structure it so you can have different partners. You can, and then once I found out about hard money loans for flips, and the approval process is a lot easier, and just so many different things they just don't educate regular people about. But I mean, it's really just as easy to learn as hopping on YouTube and typing in different things or Googling some stuff and, hopping on that, down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to the Ron LeGrand School of Real Estate, who's like the godfather of alternative real estate deals. When I say alternative real estate, I mean Joe Realtor's sign in your front yard. So yeah, it was always eye-opening. It was eye-opening to me when I first went through it and learned. And it remains to be like, it's so interesting how many deals can be done. You said something that's intriguing to me. You're only 2 years into this game, successful, operating in multiple cities. I think it looked like from your site, maybe 8 cities or so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think right now, we've done just recently. We've done a lot of deals in a few different places too that we haven't yet. So we did some in Cali. We've done a couple deals in California now. We've done did one in Florida, a couple in Georgia, and a few in Washington State now too. So, and then we have other ones too in markets we operate in.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on how you're doing this through marketing, through CRM. There's 2 things. I held up my hand and held up more than 2 fingers. That didn't make any sense. There's 2 things. There's 2 things that I think every true business owner who is sitting in their own investor seat, which is some of the skill and the value I bring to my clients, is getting them into that seat in their business, so they actually have a business as opposed to a job that just pays them well. Those two things are, you got to know how to market your business, and really you need to be really connected to the marketing of your business. Maybe not designing the postcards or hitting the keys for the CRM and programming it out and making all the connections and integrations, but you got to understand it, and you need to know what the market wants, the message that they need to hear, the media that they use. You got to be able to move them. It seems like you're able to do that. You touched on the other thing back when we were going through some of the failures of the past, or things that didn't work out, things you learned from. That's a nicer way to put it, right? You said you had a business partner that started using money the wrong way. So that second thing is control the checkbook. Well, I don't think you should ever abdicate that. I mean, again, you can have a CFO, you can have people that process your payables and do your receivables, but you've got to be watching that money. I think those 2 things should never be completely abdicated. You can outsource the task, but you've got to have that finger on the pulse. The second you take it off, it's trouble. So really, I get the sense from you get excited and jazzed up about marketing.
Yeah, no, I love marketing and sales. Yeah, those are 2 things that, I'd say, what are your best skills? Those 2 things. I definitely need to work on the other stuff. And it's one of my big goals, and why I joined Apex and surround myself with people like you, just kind of take myself out of that seat, like some of those tasks, and start delegating the other stuff. Because, I think since I got burned by that business partner and at that company, I kind of went completely the opposite way. And like, hey, I'm just going to do everything myself. And you can, but it just takes a lot longer, and it's just you get burnt out after a while. So I'm kind of back to wanting to build, and I have like virtual assistants and other people I work with too here. But yeah, it's definitely definitely different for sure. But yeah, so it kind of took me a while to get over that and try to get back to building that back up.
Yeah, yeah. The business owner that does everything, that's just a reality sometimes when you start. It just is. I mean, unless you're the kind of C-suite Wall Street executive that can cobble together $250 million of investment money, and you have 30 years in the industry of building a brand. Like Home Depot, as an example, was built in a boardroom off of one location down south, and then immediately expanded. Unless you're playing on that level, you do have to kind of do everything at first. But I think let's walk through some of your lessons that you've learned about, all right, I need to take everything in to get started. I want to step back to go forward. So what have been some of those steps where you kind of step back and you're like, okay, I can immediately shed this. How have you done that?
Yeah, so that was, when I do something, I kind of go all in. So it was, completely just, our ways business partner. Like I said, I wasn't watching the checkbook, wasn't counting the money. We were doing good money. I think our second year with that business, when I had the bad experience with the business partner, I think we did like over $500,000. And then I was wondering like why I had no money to show for it. So then I went back and looked through the data, and I'm like, oh, this dude's taking all the money. And that's why we don't have any money. So, or I don't have any money, but,
right.
After paying everyone expenses stuff, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't make sense, but our expenses and overhead weren't that high. But, just checking that. And then just core value has been a big one, just hiring the right people, not just hiring. Cause before I didn't really have a lot of trust in myself. I was still young and, was still kind of like having success in business was just like, it was foreign to me, a surprise. And, how I grew up, I didn't feel like I deserved it probably too. And I just would hire anyone that wanted to work, or say they wanted to work, and I'd find a seat for them, and didn't really just let them go, and hope they figure it out themselves pretty much. But yeah, and I think that was a big one. Just making sure I have control of the money, and making sure I've got final say over who I'm hiring and who I'm allowing in my circle. And but yeah, I think really just kind of, and then slowly delegating things, and then just kind of breaking down, hey, what are the activities I definitely shouldn't be doing? What are where's the best use of my time? That's sales and marketing. I shouldn't be doing data entry. I shouldn't be the one pulling the list. So that was one of the first things I delegated and hired a VA for. And I still made mistakes along the way, still as I'm growing again now. And, I've hired people, and same thing, like, oh, they started off great. I didn't do a great job managing them. But I'm like, oh, they figured it out. They're good to go. But then I'd stop staying on top of them, or again, looking at the data, and, they'd fall off, and I'd wonder why. And, I have to take ownership and say, hey, it's your fault. You weren't managing them. You should have been looking at the data more closely, or had someone else looking at the data to catch this and, nip it in the bud, and not wait till, months or, multiple weeks after the fact when, the salary shouldn't have been addressed and you had the opportunity to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very smart. Very smart insights. Really appreciate you sharing as we approach our end of our time together. This has been great to have you on the show. How do people get in touch with you? Obviously, They can check out ODAAT Podcast. Definitely subscribe there.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'd love if anyone wants to check out the podcast. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so the ODAAT Podcast, and then I'm on social media everywhere. Ky Logue, it's KYLOGUE, and then it's the real Ky Logue is usually my handle.
All right, very good, man. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. Love all you're doing. Always love seeing how people go against the norms, not playing the Joe Realtor real estate sign in your front yard game, doing real estate your way, different way, helping people out, get out of those distress situations, helping them move forward. That's really great. Really appreciate all you're doing there, and appreciate you stopping by here on the show, man. It's been good.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you again. And we'll see you all next time on The Big Ticket Life. Take care. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of The Big Ticket Life. You've heard from another amazing guest living their own big ticket life, and now it's time to live yours. First, I'd love for you to take me up on my free gift to you. Claim your gift at gift.thebigticketlife.live. That's gift.thebigticketlife.live. See, all your life you've been told what is and what isn't possible by the loudest voices from the cheapest seats. It's time to finally do life and business on your terms. Sure, you've heard similar things, but without clarity on what can be done, it's easy to have your customers, employees, maybe even partners, and your spouse keep you from truly living a big ticket life. My big ticket methods shift you into that investor seat in your business, away from commodity and away from competition, into a market of one, so you can finally live your own big ticket life. So my gift to you is for you to book your discovery call today, where we'll uncover first the Chivo behaviors, those chief everything officer behaviors that hold you back, and why moving into the investor seat in your own business is critical. 2, we'll uncover the premium position that's up for grabs right now in your market that you're missing out on. And 3, which big ticket methodologies are just waiting to be dropped into your business to explode your sales and profits. So again, thanks for listening to this episode. I'd love for you to take action right now. Accept this gift, book your call, go to gift.thebigticketlife.live. Again, that's gift.thebigticketlife.live.